journey of despair and of trauma and of emotional intensity, and you've brought us through out of the other end with a feeling that hope and creativity emerge out of the ashes and out of suffering. And for that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I mean, all of us have got our own stories to tell. We have our own, trajectories which have faced really the shadow and faced the darkness in so many ways. So to come out of it really collectively with you, feeling that it is possible still to experience love and humanity and joy, no matter what one has gone through, is really what I take away from what you have given us. And I think it's an extraordinary gift. So that's really where I wanted to start, in saying thank you very much, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of all of us in articulating that. I have a few questions, and then I'm going to open it up to my two colleagues who may have a few observations and questions that they might want to pose. And then I hope very much that all of you in the audience who have something to say or have questions to ask might feel able to participate as well, so that we can really gather a broad sense of response to this incredibly intense hour and a half that you've given us. I hope before tonight I had a little look at your website and some things on that you've put online, and I was interested to see what you thought that art could do in relation to the kinds of trauma that you're describing, what role art has. And one of the things that I was really struck by was that you said that art asks a question, that art provides the space to ask a question that perhaps other modes of being in the world don't provide us with. It doesn't mean that art provides the answer. And I think that that was one of the things that was so powerful for me tonight in watching you, is there were a number of questions asked, but we don't come away really with glib answers to what produces human cruelty, what makes neighbors turn on one another. I mean, the most, for me, one of the most powerful things tonight was when you asked what kind of man would kill a baby. We don't have the answer to that at the end of your performance. As intense as it has been, and as powerfully as we've gone along with you on that journey, we are no the wiser at the end of your performance as to what can motivate somebody to behave like that. But what we do come away with is that, for me anyway, is that it's not them out there or other people who are capable of such cruelty. We are all capable of it, given the circumstances. And when you turned to yourself and you said, I could be that person who could kill a man, or could kill a baby, that was, I think, really, really powerful. So the shadow walks with all of us. The shadow is not only the histories that we've all had to suffer, but indeed our own capacity, both now and in the future, to be cruel. And I found that very powerful in experiencing the performance with you. So, but again, you allowed us at the end to move away from that very dark space and to experience, because insofar as we're all capable of that kind of cruelty and hate, we're also capable of the kind of love and joy. Not all of us have the talent you have, so we can't necessarily dance it or sing it. And that's what you provide for us. Provide actually a language, a bodily language and a voice to sing and perform it in a way that we don't all have the skill to do. So you become a kind of conduit. So those are my very, very brief responses. I'm going to ask my two colleagues to make their responses and then hopefully open it up, and you yourselves might want to say something about what this journey has been.
Yeah, thank you so much again for this really moving performance, and I think it's really opened up, and I'm sure a lot of us are sitting with thoughts, feelings, emotions, questions, and also connections that we're making with our own context. I mean, we're here from different communities, different groups, and we can connect to what was happening here from a very deep emotional level, which sometimes when we're sitting in thinking spaces just where we are using our heads, we numb our hearts. We numb our sense of connectedness to each other through that sense of, I know what they're talking about. I've been in that space of feeling the shared suffering, right? But when we're in the mental spaces, I think we use that as an excuse sometimes to shut off from that deeper conversation, which this kind of performance allows us to go in. We have no control. We really have no control because you take us there, and we can't hold ourselves back. We can't say, let my mind control and say, I don't want to go there, because we really lose that control, and we are in touch with our most deepest, vulnerable, and most honest, truthful selves when we are watching something. Is a testimony of the sense of, to the depth of human cruelty, but also the power of humanity. You know, we experience that multiple discourses all in one performance. You talk about the inhumanity, but you also talk about the capacity of human beings to protect, to save, to be able to come up and again recover and encourage and inspire. So I think all of that human being exists, just like you said, in each of us at this moment. So I feel like this is not, you know, you talked about all the different genocides that are happening around the world. And as we speak, we are still going through that. It's not ended. I mean, the Rohingya is still going on. Syria is still going on. And as we speak, loss of lives are happening. So I'm sitting with that question myself. How do we now? And this, what has opened up, I think what Rwanda opened up for us, what South Africa opened up for the world was the victim imperative, which was shut down. You know, the voices of the victims, the way they got heard, it was not the case 2 generations ago. So I think that we've handled. We've allowed the victim voices to come. But now what? How do we sort of come as a global, is this a global thing now? It's not located in space. So performances like yours can really open the space for deeper conversations. And the question I'm sitting with one is, how do we take something like this and infuse it into these decision-making policies, processes that happen? Let the people who are making those decisions connect on that deeper heart level to what it is about this human suffering, and not just on that level of, you know, so how do we really take this on those structural levels? But thank you again so much for what you've offered us.
Thank you very much. I give you a welcome from Ireland, where Stellenbosch's weather is actually warm. My wife walks around Stellenbosch with bare arms, and people ask her, is she cold? This is a fine summer day in Ireland. I want to emphasize 3 things about art. And when I use the word art, I mean all creative industry. Music, painting, drama, photography. And I want to emphasize 3 things. And I want to start, first of all, with art as resistance. I say that because I want to honour a good friend of mine who died a few weeks ago, Johnny Clegg. I knew Johnny when he was a young lecturer in anthropology in the 1970s. And he used traditional African music as a white guy to challenge and to resist. And I think it's very important that we acknowledge that we are in Stellenbosch. We are in Stellenbosch where the music of the Cape Malay slaves is very, very important to maintaining identity and maintaining dignity. In a way that reminds me very, very much of the spirituals of the Negro slaves in the USA. But I want perhaps to emphasize the role of art in a post-conflict setting. And I want to emphasize, first of all, the role of art as witness. Art speaks for the dead who cannot speak for themselves. Art speaks to the silence, those who are unrecognized, those who are unacknowledged, those who are hidden. And art has a very, very powerful role in giving acknowledgement and recognition to those who are ignored. I think art is also very important because art can be therapeutic. Art as therapy is very, very important. And in this context, I want to refer us to Sri Lanka rather than Rwanda. I had the privilege of visiting an initiative called the Butterfly Garden, in particular, a Tamil area in the north of the island, where there had been a massacre. 100,000 were killed in the final days of the massacre. And this Butterfly Garden is an initiative where traumatized children who are selected by their teachers at school go and draw, sculpt, paint, and indeed also farm. It's called the Butterfly Garden because butterflies represent freedom. The kind of freedom that we hope the traumatized children will themselves eventually realize. Why I mention this is because it gets no money. Because it deals with Tamil victims, the Sinhalese government does not fund it. The West ignores it. But it's doing the most powerful work that's possible in helping traumatized children through art find some form of therapy. So I want to emphasize 3 things about art. Art as resistance, art as witness, and art as therapy. And I think that you exemplify that most wonderfully. And incidentally, my final comment, I would love to invite you to Belfast.
I wonder if any of you would like to respond to any of our responses before we open it up, or would you prefer us to just open it up and hear what other people have to say? It's up to you. But would you like to say something?
I think we held the mic for 1 hour and 15 minutes. It's better we pass it over, but what you're talking is just bringing us home. We're just on the same page, and that makes us feel really good. Yes. And let's see what they want to hear now.
Yes, there's a person at the back there. If you wouldn't mind coming up and...
My name's Sam, and I just want to say, obviously I don't know you guys, but I feel an intense connection, like I do know you. I'm a theatre producer and an actor myself, and I am very involved in genocide work. We actually do a production called Sarajevo, which is set in the former Yugoslavian war, Bosnia, Serbia. And I think that's why, just sitting here tonight, I had this intense connection with you guys. What I would like to say from my side, I think you put it perfectly. When we put on our production, sorry, I know this is more of a statement, but I feel like I just need to speak to you. When we put on our production, we look at a couple of things. We look at communication, we look at affecting, and we look at being a cathartic experience for the audience and for anyone involved. I'm gonna put her under slight pressure, but that lady over there is the leading actress in our play. She also runs the Remembering Srebrenica Massacre Memorial, which is going to be on soon. So I know that I think you had some things to say. So, yeah.
Guys, I'm going to try to get through this without crying. Your performances really, really moved me. I've just come back from a tour to Poland and from my family's home in Belarus. So I'm very connected to the topic. Obviously being shown here tonight, and when you guys lit the candles and you mentioned the Holocaust and the Balkans, those are 2 genocides very close to my heart. So I felt your performance. I really felt it in my gut. I felt it in my heart. And I have to thank you for that, because I think that's what theatre's about. Theatre, it's existential in the way that for 1 hour you are with the audience, and every audience has a different experience, and it will never be the same. And it's the small secret that you hold with this current audience. And if that secret is harnessed correctly, we can connect to that one thing that we have in common, and that's empathy. And art just needs to touch the heart of one's enemies and kind of like remind us that the man we kill is our brother, and the woman we rape is our sister, and the children we maim, they are the future of our humanity. And I think that your performance did just that. Theatre's about feeling, and you guys made me feel. And just to you, sir, when you spoke about the butterflies, that really touched me. And I'd really like to read more about that institution, because the experience that I had in Belarus, I was at my family's mass grave, and I wasn't feeling anything, and I couldn't understand why. And all of a sudden, I saw 2 blue butterflies. So at the moment, and that just kind of unlocked everything for me, were these 2 blue butterflies. So I'm feeling for the first time in a long time. So thank you guys so much. Thank you.
So you may realize that the cast when you have hugging, I think you saw hugging in our performance. Those hugging moments are moments that came naturally, like we just have, there's no dance to express this. The dance at this moment, the movement, the body movement right now, is just to hug. And so we hug. It's part of our performance. And she just talked about empathy. In today's world, my pain is going to be your pain tomorrow. My tears are going to be your tears tomorrow. My story is going to be your story tomorrow. So it's important to feel each other. And that's our calling when we're trying to create these performances. And we even ask ourselves, and we judge ourselves through rehearsals. When you sing something and someone does not feel it, they tell you, it doesn't work, it's not hope we even say it. We direct each other, we guide each other, because it becomes our story, not like a story to perform, it's a story to share. So sometimes they say, you're singing, but I don't feel you. You're not singing from your gut. You're not singing from soul, because every moment in this performance is a soul-stabbing moment. And it's very key for us today in this world that if something happens in Sri Lanka, it's going to happen to you tomorrow. Your house, if your neighbor's house is on fire tomorrow, yours will be on fire tomorrow. So we are shared humanity. And yeah,
I think
so thanks so much for sharing. I wish you would just come here and sit with us. We feel like we still want to stretch our hands out there.
And what's so important that comes out of that is none of us has the monopoly on suffering. And I think for those of us who, I come from also a Holocaust family that also was exiled from South Africa, so 2 big traumatic backgrounds. And those of us who come from South Africa, we feel that our suffering is so unique. And I think all the Holocaust, which is also my background, my family survived, some of them. So it's so easy to see one's own narrative as unique and special, and having that we have the monopoly on suffering. But I think what's so important about what you've said and your performance is for us to open ourselves up to the fact that this suffering is everywhere, and the thing around empathizing and thinking about. I do think that I agree to some extent that theatre is about feeling, but I also think theatre is about reflecting and thinking, and we have to work with both. Because if you only go into the place of feeling, then you cannot stand outside of it and ask the question why. So it's this kind of negotiation between reflection, critical reflection, thinking and analysis on the one hand, and you're being pushed and pulled all the time between the space of feeling and the space of reflection. And that to me is an incredibly powerful space. So why? And all these situations, even though, whether it's Cambodia or Rwanda or the Holocaust, etc., yes, genocide happens in each, but each situation is unique. And the historical circumstances that produce that genocide in each situation is unique. So again, it's about navigating this thing of our uniqueness and our shared humanity simultaneously. And for that we need history and reflection and reading and writing and everything else, along with the kind of thing that helps us to connect with what it is to be human. And to feel as we think. So just to keep that in the equation, I think is really very important, and especially from here. I mean, Stellenbosch, as you said, Stellenbosch is a very, very special place in terms of the history of South African tyranny. It was here, in case you don't know, that the ideology of apartheid was actually, you probably know this, I'm sure, that it was perfected as a theory, as a system of belief. So we're in the belly of the beast, right here in Stellenbosch. But at the same time, there are these kinds of spaces all over the world which produce their own kinds of heinous ideologies, and the kind of objectification of people which produces genocide. So, yeah.
Thank you. I studied at this university, and in a way I don't want to speak, but thank you for sharing so deeply the final end result of small beginnings. I think what worries me is that it seems we only see something when it's in the final stage, and we don't see it when it starts. We don't see it when it even starts big. You talk about one child, 5 children, 7 people, 100 people. When does it become horrible? With the first child. Not by the time it's a genocide and we look back and then we are outraged. The intolerance, the small intolerances that we even promote. We are sitting in Cape Town where people are killed all the time. We now have the army coming in to protect people in our city. And I hope that by showing us the final result, we can start looking at the seeds of those results in our everyday lives, in our intolerances, which we still keep breeding. I just read yesterday that in America now, in the past 215 days, hundreds of people have been killed by angry young white men who feel they are threatened by, So I think if we can build these bridges between the extreme experiences that you share with us and our everyday us, what we do, that everyone needs to see what you're sharing with us, and everybody needs to start reflecting. So if we can get the churches to start showing this, our own performances by you guys, if we can start looking at ourselves, if you can stimulate us, starting to look at ourselves as well and recognizing the germs of what you are sharing with us, I think we have moved a long way. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. I'm being prompted that we have to go share a drink somewhere, but everything, we can go until morning, because this is the beauty about this art. It's a master key to the difficult conversations. And we want to just thank you for, there's one more question at the back. One more last. One more question, and then we can continue our conversations.
Thank you so much. For me, it's not a question. For me, it's a word of appreciation, not only for you as actors and my fellow countrymen and women. I'm from Rwanda myself. I would like to reflect. I think we've seen in the past that there are many people wanting to say, look, there wasn't a genocide against Tutsi, and I think this has shown us that genocide against Tutsi happened, and it was planned, it was well planned, and we thank those who stood against it, as we saw in their performance. And on the other hand, I would like to say thank you to Pumla, Professor Pumla, rather, for being there for Rwandans. She has been to Rwanda for many years, and thank you for extending the invitation. And as a representative of the Rwandan, I managed to bring a few people, and in saying it, so I think my fellow Rwandans and friends of Rwanda, I hope you've learned a bit, and let us make this world a better world, so that tomorrow we can leave it in the good hands of future generation. Thank you so much.